As you guys know, the blood libel of settler violence has been sweeping through Western media over the last months and even years, especially since October 7th, the massacre of October 7th. The counter-narrative has always been from the Arabs on the ground. There's been tremendous settler violence. The latest story, July 28th, an Auda al-Hathalin, mostly known from his help on the Oscar award-winning documentary, more like propaganda, No Other Land, right? Taking place, showing this sort of makeshift village that actually never really existed, but they put it together for this documentary. Anyway, it won an Oscar award, and this Auda Hathalin was a big, basically part of that movie. Well, on July 28th, he and a bunch of other Arabs from this pseudo village that was kind of popped up next to Carmel. In fact, these Arabs originally came from the Arad area, pre-1967, and they left during the 1948 war and moved into this area in Southern Hebron Hills. Actually not far from where I'm at now, about 20-30 minutes from there. After Carmel was created as a community in 1967, in the last 5-10 years, they decided to build up to the community in Carmel, which actually they built over the community line, and they claim that they always have been there. Aerial shots have shown that these Arabs actually were never there. Like aerial shots from 30 years ago. So this entire village that won an Oscar award on this documentary was never there 2-3 decades ago. That's been proven already. Anyway, this Auda al-Hathalin, he and a bunch of other Arabs decided to surround a bulldozer that was driving on the periphery road of the community on July 28th. This bulldozer was going to do a construction project. They're building some more houses in Carmel. And they started throwing rocks at this bulldozer and surrounding it and threatening the driver's life. A farmer in the area, Yinon Levy, came down. He was working on the construction project, and he saw rocks being thrown at the bulldozer driver, and he drove down with his car. Now, his car also got rocks thrown at it. They were surrounding the car. He gets out, and now all the left-wing videos show Yinon Levy getting out with his gun, and it does not show that they make sure not to show the crowds of Arabs threatening him, right? And so he takes his gun out, and in order to defend himself, he shoots the gun. Now, this Auda Hathalin was killed in the process, right? He wasn't aiming it at him, but he shot in the distance and it hit this one of the Arabs that was in the crowd. Now, Washington Post will have you believed that this al-Hathalin was just, they literally say in their article that he was playing in a playground with his kids, not according to the videos, and a bullet shot him, right? That's not according to the videos. In the videos, not that the left-wing groups show, but the pan out of the video showed none of his kids there, and he's part of the crowd that is trying to accost Yinon Levy, right? Now, in Israeli law, if you're allowed to use your gun only for one reason only, in self-defense. If there's a crowd of violent people around you, it doesn't matter if they have guns or not, if they have rocks or steel rods or any of these things, and they can take your gun from you, right? You're allowed to shoot. You're allowed to have to warn them first. Now, in the video, it's very clear that Yinon Levy is warning them to move away. They will not listen to him in the video, and instead, he has no choice but to shoot. Now, he was later let off. A judge ordered the police to release him. It was not even clear that the bullets he fired were the ones that killed Auda Hathalin, but the Washington Post and other news outlets associated with this sort of narrative wants the readers and the viewers to believe that Yinon Levy is a murderer, that he's a colonist and a murderer and all sorts of different stuff, right? The fact is that these Arabs from this village were never there to begin with, right? These Arabs from this village broke into Carmel, which is a legal community, right, in Judea and Samaria, and they crossed what we call the blue line of the community, and by doing that, they broke the law, and they are now considered a violent mob. But even if he did do it, right, he had every right to defend himself with a violent mob trying to break into Carmel, right? If they had gotten past him, they would have hurt other people. This wasn't 1, 2, 3 local Bedouins. This is a mob of people and anarchist, violent left-wing activists from overseas, okay? Now this Auda al-Hathalin, the Washington Post said this about him. Auda al-Hathalin devoted his life to defending his small Bedouin village from intensifying threats from Israeli settlers and officials. No. Auda al-Hathalin has been caught many times throwing rocks at civilians, women, children, and the like, and Jewish sheep herders in the area. It's only because he was part of an Oscar award-winning propaganda film, right, that that the news makes a big deal about him. The fact is, he's been a known violent activist terrorist for many years in the area, and he's been known to attack local, law-abiding Jewish community members in the area. The fact that he and his clan decided to build shacks up to the security fence of Carmel does not mean that he gets to go and do whatever he wants to do, right? So the fact is, the left-wing news media, the global left-wing news media, has done an amazing job flipping the narrative, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to take the law-abiding Jewish pioneers of the Judean hills, right, and turn them into the anarcho-terrorists that the reality is that the Arabs, who weren't even from this area to begin with, that they only moved there after Carmel came in 20, 30 years ago, right? The narrative is they're the indigenous people and these horrible colonizers came and attacked them. Once again, the narrative in places like the Washington Post, the narrative from places like CNN, the narrative from places like New York Times wants everybody to believe that there's a widespread, uncalled for settler violence around Judea and Samaria. Situations like Yinon Levy, that happened on July 20th, proves the opposite, that these people are willing to twist the truth any which way possible to show that the Jews are the enemy, which in reality, it's not true, right? Most 99% of the Jews in Judea and Samaria are law-abiding citizens, and we're allowed to protect ourselves if a violent mob of left-wing anarchist-inspired Arabs come to attack us. The best way to tackle outlets like Washington Post and New York Times and CNN and all the left-wing groups that are trying to cut and paste and show us a narrative is to attack them with truth. Spread truth over falsehood and we can win.